Hello, welcome back. As there was some recent interest in some of my videos about my PhD in France, I decided to go on with another one that will be about the end of year 2 of my PhD journey in Sorbonne University in Paris, France. I will start off by saying or reminding that my situation is not very typical. In fact, it is quite atypical in that I am currently doing my PhD and a postdoc at the same time. The reason being, if you watch my first video, you will know that I do not get paid for my PhD, so I'm also working, and my work position happens to be a postdoc position. So people often find this weird. They're like, is this even possible? But apparently it is. So I'm working as a postdoc in Laureate, the University of Lorraine, which is an organization that deals with computational linguistics, natural language processing, and I'm continuing my PhD. The topic of my PhD is abridged versions, well, automatically abridged versions of literary texts in multiple languages and for different audiences, such as children or people with learning disabilities or learners of a language. And in terms of my postdoc, I am working with manuscripts in Biblical Hebrew, which is kind of different, but also something that I'm interested in. As you can guess, the fact that I'm also working full-time at that means that I am not managing to progress in a very structured way in my PhD. However, I have added to the number of articles published, the number of conferences attended this year. In particular, I attended a conference in Japan where I presented a paper about dialogue in adapted Japanese texts. This was really fun. It was great to go back to Japan after living there for a couple of years. This was back in November, and right before that there was another conference in Italy which is about innovation in language learning. It's a conference I join most of the time. So I presented a study there that was about glossaries in graded readers, in texts made especially for learners of a language at different levels. I had tried to submit this article for another conference previously that was specifically centered around lexicography, so hence the glossary topic, but as it did not get accepted, something that rarely happens, but it happens, I just went on and submitted it to something else. Also, a couple of things that I have planned for the near future. One is actually the next edition of the conference in Italy. It is in Florence. I don't know if I will go on the spot or I'll follow online this year. There is another one that is a symposium in Germany, also in November. Really, November seems to be the season of conferences. And something else, I also got an article accepted just recently, actually, in the first issue of the journal Computational Linguistics in Bulgaria. So actually they contacted me to invite me as an author, which is really an honor, and I'm very happy to have contributed to this particular journal, its first issue. I have also participated in another couple of conferences, including ACL, which is really the biggest natural language processing conference in Vienna this summer, but it was linked to my postdoc, not my PhD, so I'm not going to be focusing on this right now. But even from the point of view of my PhD supervisors said that it was great to have participated in this conference. They said that The conferences that I tend to go for, which are kind of smaller and specific, as in they have some specific topic that they focus on, such as dialogue for the one in Japan, or glossaries. It is best to go for the big conferences. They said that me going for these smaller ones will be like being a very good player in B League. Sorry if that's incorrect, I am really not that familiar with sports terminology, and that I'd better go for A League. And they said, well done, that ACL was equivalent to being in A League, where of course you strike less as a good player. So apart from articles and conferences, also I attended a training about ethics in research, which is compulsory. I did not enjoy that at all. I don't think there was lots of new information. It was online, it lasted 3 hours, and what I really found annoying was that the participants were really not interested and they were not cooperative. As in, we were supposed to have conversations in some breakout rooms in Zoom, and people were just not saying anything. So I tried to get the conversation going, but I wish I were better at that. It's just people seemed uninterested and I didn't like that. I also attended a summer school that was also maybe a little bit more linked to my job than my PhD. However, I kind of included it as hours spent on training for my PhD. It is something you can do on the platform. It's called adum.fr, where you write down what you've done during your PhD. It was about manuscripts and using quantitative methods to analyze them. It was actually a very, very tough training. I would go to Paris back and forth 1 whole week, going early morning, coming back late in the evening. It was very exhausting, and my background was very different from that of most people. Basically, they were dealing with studies linked to manuscripts and just starting to learn things like programming, while me it was the other way around. Anyway, summer schools are something that is very popular in France. It is intensive training on some topic, and usually it's in some nice location and you get to meet people. You get some free lunch normally, although it's not always very good. So I recommend the experience if you have the opportunity to attend a summer school in France. It is open for not only PhD students, but also postdocs, independent researchers, as well as undergraduates and master's students. I may have mentioned before that my PhD is PhD by articles, as in different articles put together, which is very convenient for me, as I've published articles here and there for conferences and journals. However, I do have to put them together, make sure they have the same format, make sure they don't all have the same introduction and background information, that I don't repeat myself. So this is the biggest challenge for me, and something I've started vaguely started doing. My supervisors told me that I might even be able to use some articles that I have made in the context of my work, my postdoc, rather than my PhD, which would be amazing. The topic is very different, but apparently I can play around with it, as in make it a little bit larger, broader, so as to include additional research, which is very encouraging for me. Some new experience that I have added this year is being a reviewer for a couple of workshops and conferences, reviewing a couple of articles. Reviewers can be very annoying and very nasty, so I try not to be like that. And also teaching. I have not done much of this, and I am not super interested, to be honest, but apparently it's important experience. For now I have only taught separate lectures and topics, but starting this autumn I'm likely to be teaching regularly. As last year, at the end of the year, there was a meeting of the so-called Comité de Suivi, or a committee of 2 people, there can be more, that make sure that my PhD is going well, that my relationship with my supervisors is optimal, that they're helpful, that I'm progressing. So this took place in May or June, I think in June, and it went well, just like the year before. And after I submitted a document describing the outcome of this meeting, I was able to sign up for the next year of my PhD. So I'm officially, it is the summer vacation, but it is officially the 3rd year of my PhD right now, which is officially the last year, but more often than not, I think it's not actually the case. And I don't know if this will be the last year of my PhD. If I just start working hard on the final version of my thesis, then maybe I could gain momentum and do it all in a couple of months. But it's also very likely that it will not be the last year, as I'm also focusing on my work, my family, and general health and well-being, I guess. Okay, I will stop here. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you for following my PhD journey. Please like and subscribe if you like this content, and hope to see you soon. Bye bye.